body was sane. You say you a shooter, you ain't. I ride around with the thing. John Wick with the aim. I'm drinking drink for the pain. I'm with gunner, ain't rolling. Uzi got on Rick Owens. All the gal like I growed it. She on that pole like we voted. I just seen Cannon pull up in that Panamera. Got sauce like marinara. Bitch, I'm couch eating near. All the Gucci apparel. All the Louis apparel. Free J, no free Gerald. Yeah, they ain't never tell though.
Now they can tell me that way. Used to be broke every day. Watching I pull out that red. A lot of these girls, they gon' hate. That stay out of the way. That put you down again. My water ain't come out of the lake. That nigga bad as pain.
I had a marvelous day. Ain't no baby bottle today. Took a model and went on a date. Put a dick all in the face. I'ma give me a piece of that cake. I'ma fly to Dubai on the plane. I'ma take my little bitch out of Spain. I'ma cover her body with stain. Let her drip and Chanel in my mane. Like he's on my head of the game. My auntie let it smell like cocaine. I'ma bet she get better with age. Shit, they got when I walk on the stage. Let her walk out and wait for a change. Let her put some more ice in the rain. I'ma fucking in love with rage.
I'm a lover and fucking with rich. He didn't want to pull up in the range. He didn't want so I don't know your name. Ruby down in my chain like a stain. Crick out and give me these spits. Back out it look like vacay. 150 rapid day in the day. Next you gon' do what I say. Laws, he gon' make it rain. Gunna, he gon' make it rain. Yeah, got me pull up in the tank. Yeah, moving that bit like a Brinks. My new little bitch, yeah, she Cuban. Give me that nut, we gon' link. Why it's how that be the same? All the way to I'm green. Now nigga Kevin that way. Used to be broke every day. Watching I pull out that red. A lot of these girls, they gon' hate. That stay out of the way. That put you down again. My water ain't come out of the lake. That nigga bad as pain.
I had a marvelous day. Ain't no baby bottle today. Took a model and went on a date. Put a dick all in the face. I'ma give me a piece of that cake. I'ma fly to Dubai on the plane. I'ma take my little bitch out of Spain. I'ma cover her body with stain. Gotta keep me in pain, it's insane. I'ma drip all the way to the bank. Thought I told you that's another lane. Yeah, they catch you, my nigga, my main. He done turned up a whole nother lane. We gon' kinda touch your easy pain. I'm just cause we can't play no more games. We ain't try to your block with the game. I used to have to ride a train. Spend 20 on the chain. Pussy boy, why you hang? I ain't never been a lame. I used to listen to Wayne. You think I ain't peeping your game? I know you peeping my flav. They wanna be in my place.
Yeah, nigga Kevin that way. Used to be broke every day. Watching I pull out that red. A lot of niggas, they gon' hate. Better stay out of the way. That put you down again. My water ain't come out of the lake. Yeah, nigga proud to play.
I had a marvelous day. Ain't no baby bottle today. Took a model and went on a date. Put a dick all in the face. I'ma give me a piece of that cake. I'ma fly to Dubai on the plane. I'ma take my little bitch out of Spain. I'ma cover her body with stain.
If your metro don't trust you, I'm gonna shoot you. Metro!
I can't let cash through the week. On the Tesla, I can't go to sleep. I covered her body with seeds. My cop in the drip overseas. I like when she get on her knees. I'm rocking these beat on jeans. I need me a fat ass to squeeze. I promise I look like a king. I told you we all by the cream. My bag is 100 or more. I got the cash over shows. But the jacket I hopped in the rose.
Ain't rockin' on SI2. My diamonds VVS. Ain't driving on CRV. My coupe is a GTS. All the hard times gave me strength. So I carry this money to the bank. Nobody help me, just knowing a thing. Now they watching this picture I paint. I plug always make sure I'm straight. Not every superhero got a cape. Smoking on back was bad for me, but I don't want smoke on a vape. Yeah. I ain't healthy, but my pockets they in shape. Yeah. Fucking all these hoes on tour and state to state. Laying by the pool, your girlfriend feeding me grapes. Gotta keep it on me, I got a lot at stake. I was born with all this drip, I came out of faucet. When they put my bro in the chain gang, I almost lost it. So much jealousy and envy, gotta be cautious. I made some ends, but not surrounding myself with bosses.
Had too many flaws, I got my Rolex studded with flawless. Had too much drip, I had to invest into a closet. When I poked that 12 inside of a tube, I felt nauseous. If I pop another Tesla pill, I'm the closet. I put on the ladder and got my roof, thought I lost it. Lately no hate been come my way, think I dodged it. She called a friend, we fucking in the room, told her fall in. I moved to the pit with a 30-foot drink, make we ball in. Put heat in my plugs inside of my room. Off-white on the side of my shoes. BS's in all of my jewels. No blessings right after you lose. When stressing my family cool. Different watch it depend on the mood. Got a shopper with Fendi and Goose. You be watching my grind like the news. I'ma chop out the pay with the crew. I'm a mechanic, but I keep it tool. Gonna got hold by the tools. Got a stick and don't nobody move. She be eating my dick like it's food. She a freak and she still go to school. I put that bitch in a groove. Me and that's that they catch to the roof.
I was born with all this drip, I came out of faucet. When they put my bro in the chain gang, I almost lost it. So much jealousy and envy, gotta be cautious. I made some M's and I surrounded myself with bosses.
Had too many flaws, I got my Rolex studded with flawless. Had too much drip, I had to invest into a closet. When I poked that 12 inside of a 2, I felt nauseous. If I pop another Tesla pill, I'm sick.
I spent a mortgage on my clothes, now I'm ballin'. Girl, I'm tryna fuck right now, no time for stalling. I just got a walk-in closet to put them all in. My whip so close to the floor, you gotta fall in. I stopped wearing Levi's, now it's ball me. Every time you see me, I'm with the same gang. I'm tryna get 100 mil for tryna maintain. Only up another 6, I'm killing all pain. I was born with all this drip, I came out of faucet. When they put my bro in the chain gang, I almost lost it. So much jealousy and envy, gotta be cautious. I made some M's and I surrounded myself with bosses.
Had too many flaws, I got my Rolex studded with flawless. Had too much drip, I had to invest into a closet. When I poked that 12 inside of a 2, I felt nauseous. If I pop another Tesla pill, I'm in sick.
Playmakers.
Yeah. Turbo.
Run that back, Turbo.
Yeah. 100 hoes at the hotel. I got her when I can't fail. New foreign, not the Chevelle. Yeah. I got my drip by the mill. This drip ain't going on sale. Banging my gas on pale. Can't fuck with you, petty little bell. Me and my brother like Ken and Kel. Send the rest of my niggas in jail. Now the smoke when they demon fish tail. Niggas hoes and they stolen reveal. Damn, I hope he don't tell. He silent, I'm paying his bill. Ain't no fiction, we keeping it real. I keep me a hammer, no nails. Smooth out the corner of the L. Shoot it like one of the ops. Shoot out the code, dissolving these pills. Gucci drip down to my socks. Throw the Hellcat out of hell. One time, me got a fox. New bitch, she nearly my wife. Yeah. If we standing up, slumming you out. I let too many guys in the house. I get fucked and I'm kicking you out. So matching my bed with a pouch. I'm a young guy, some miss with a scout. I just stack me a bigger amount. They show you what gonna be about. Yeah. I did this shit with no bout. I let your bitch whip it round. Fucking that ass in the mouth. Glad that I came out the south. Made it through hate and the doubt. Dripping and gave me some clout. Took a G5 through the clouds. Yeah. 100 hoes at the hotel. I got her when I can't fail. New foreign, not the Chevelle. Yeah. I got my drip by the mill. This drip ain't going on sale. Banging my gas on pale.
Got big guns like Will. Don't make me want kill. Fuck her, I don't feel. Whoa, yeah. All white go no still. Rose gold link on chill. My diamonds they till. They hit white, indie lights, and at night can't tell. You know that my name ain't ring bells. You know I'm hot like a light bill. I put my dick in your female. No possible make a Michelle. The level I need to see bell. 200 my dash you could tell. You racing but chasing the tail. I drop my top like it's my tail. You know gonna double C Chanel. Don't drawing high by a spell. You know 40 with the hollow shell. With the smell, baby, why I sell? Oh, mister, snipe me like a snap. Yeah, diamonds on my wrist, them bitches wet just like a well. Yeah, my new crib so big, yeah, my backyard it got a trail. You know my swag is so clean, got green, I'm talking kill. Click long like a unibrow, so my Glock it ain't hell. Took me one whole day to fly that bitch and she Australian. What's her name? Don't look like a snitch, so I ain't with the telling. Yeah.
100 hoes at the hotel. I got her when I can't fail. New foreign, not the Chevelle. Yeah. I got my drip by the mill. This drip ain't going on sale. Banging my gas on pale.
Whoa, we just been living it better. What's up? We want the smartest forever. Feel like I might want to race to the journey. Yeah, if it helps, we came straight out the shelter. Yeah, we came straight out the shelter. Whoa, yeah. I got a brother in Belgium. You got a cost that they dealt you. They mad a nigga ain't felt them. Whoa, yeah, F in his light as a feather. Hit him 2 times, Raymond Felton. We still in the race for the cheddar. Whoa, Yeah, gonna and the Tesla swerve. Doors up like a feather. Swerve for the land every time that we let them. Yeah, whoa. Slimy, yeah, we slime. AB Hoover up for the time. So I hope can't waste my time. No, baby's cost a dime. Seen up and gonna got the iron. Whoa, yeah.
100 hoes at the hotel. I got a win, I can't fail. New foreign, not the Chevelle. Yeah. I got my trip out of mail. This shit ain't going on sale. Bang up my guts on pale.
Whoa, shit.
Run that back, turbo.
Playmakers.
Okay. Out of my wrist, counted and spin it. Made it the coupe, mine wanna kill it. Chop out the top, hit it the limit. I got some cash, I wanna spin it. New paper tag, didn't wanna rent it. Too many fads, too many bitches. Roll my slime, get in my liver. Ready to slide, you a good slipper. Hey, we ain't got ties, you ain't gon' ride. You my slime, young gun, I'm my prime. Hey, so I think I ain't telling you lies. When you come to business, I'm handling mine. Yeah, I'm keep face better my time. Hey, things like Gucci my pants. She used to dip with no hands. I just put the rest of my face. Switch my lane. Fair got bands. Another pan of red. Drink to the head. Got 2 cell phones. Yeah, I'm sipping these men. 2-tone present Rolex. Yeah, this drippy can't catch. Some say do what I say. People ain't choking my neck. Why I say Uber DJ? Pull him his VVS. Out of my wrist, counted and spin it. Made it the coupe, mine wanna kill it. Chop out the top, hit it the limit. I got some cash, I wanna spin it. New paper tag, didn't wanna rent it. Too many fads, too many bitches. Roll my slime, get in my liver. Ready to slide, you a good slipper. Hey, we ain't got ties, you ain't gon' ride. You my slime, young gun, I'm my prime. Hey, so I think I ain't telling you lies. When you come to business, I'm handling mine. Yeah, I'm keep face better my time.
Patties on patties. Oh, okay. Ran up a check and I'm fucking baddies. Okay. Drop out the coupe and don't leave me no laddy. Okay. RIP, you ever need like my daddy. Okay. I got some BBS's on my neck and my ears, they real. Dog. Okay. I done straight down and I ran out the money. I got me a M now. That's how I give me a slime. I say that shit every time. I got some rickety records, running through bitches like backpage. I'm going #1 this year. Right on them bitch, I'm in 6th gear. I'm a little Johnny, got no fear. Do all my dirt and it's raining. Wash away all the head begins. I got some change in 18 days. Ride a rave like it's raining. I watch your bitch, she the vintage. So I just bend over relentless. I triple double if you rent it. Put a Draco in my 20, yeah. I rob your hoe for the link, yeah. I triple double a year, yeah. I put a coupe on my bill, yeah. I did some shit a whole meal. I did this shit with no deal. Dropped out of school about the building. I killed a cooch on the ceiling. Pop a boot that out of deal. I got on white, I can deal. Pour out the paint, watch it spill. Yeah, my lawyer, Brian still. Yeah.
Out of my wrist, counted and spin it. Made it the coupe, mine wanna kill it. Chop out the top, hit it the limit. I got some cash, I wanna spin it. New paper tag, didn't wanna rent it. Too many fads, too many bitches. Roll my slime, get in my liver. Ready to slide, you a good slipper. Hey, we ain't got ties, you ain't gon' ride. You my slime, young gun, I'm my prime. Hey, so I think I ain't telling you lies. When you come to business, I'm handling mine. Yeah, I'm keep face better my time. Yeah, I be popping this shit, man, while I'm kicking this shit for real. You know what I'm saying? Dripping for real. You know what I'm saying? It drips severe. No cap. Yeah. I get beat like King Kong. I got round and pink toe. They don't wanna leave me alone. Get my t-shirt by V-Long. Almost into the G-code. I see you through the peephole. Do this shit for my people. Yeah. Shoot a movie on Vivo. Got on eating up the lingo. Yeah, you know how the streets go. Better watch out for Rico. Man, they gotta free Miko. My little nigga go loco. He get hot like a heat stroke. Yeah, I know she a freako. But I like when she deep though. I'ma blow it like C4. Brothers keep it like Nino. They gon' shoot if I say so. Put your shooters on payroll. Hey, I'm moving in condos, yeah. Want me stay in the ghetto. Hold me down and don't let go. Just down in the end zone. I stood tall on 10 toes. Niggas sweeter than Mentos. You can't get in my friend zone. Take them M's and head home. Caramel and red bone. Cream and bread like Zesto. Yeah. I'm get beat like King Kong. I got round and pink toes. They don't wanna leave me alone. Get my t-shirt by B-Long. Almost into the G-code. I see you through the peephole. Do this shit for my people.
Maybe helping me rest. Cop a condo and dress it up. But the pay I'm stressed. Bad bitch on my chest. I upgraded, got some baguettes. I only work by just the flicks. I cop a big body on flicks. But I still remember the J's. I ran this shit up and I blessed it. Out of my bullet petite. Need a mobile commode on sheen. I fuck with you till you extinct. Hey, that's on my jean like they mean. Yeah, I feel it low with that pink. I just got a plane that Kibble. I'm put just enough diamonds, turn to a sink. Yeah, we were eating over. Came a long way from Kroger. On this top for a hat boy. Cover big body roller. We gon' snipe on some bad bitch. And we gon' mold them. Skeleton AP2 to them. Yeah.
I'm get beat like King Kong. I got brown and pink toes. They don't wanna leave me alone. Get my t-shirt by B-Long. Almost into the G-code. I see you through the peephole. Do this shit for my people.
Yeah, young Metro, don't trust you. I'm gonna shoot you.
Tryna give you more life. I can see through the spike. Niggas creeping like mice. I'ma speed through the mic. You gotta be more precise. You ain't wrong if you right. Had a wonderful night. Paid a hell of a price. Hop on the jet, you can't delay the flight. Don't let the bass ride the beat like a bike. Don't hurt your tongue when you niggas try bite. Instead of some ass niggas shooting on sight. I blow through a 20, but that shit was light. When nigga that jet, man, I gotta do right. Why you been mentioned somewhere to reside? Gonna get everything that I desire. It's not a freestyle, cause this shit in my brain. Prepare for a loss, cause this shit come with pain. Niggas fell off and just start getting paid. Made me a boss, I don't hold my own way. I'm practicing patience, don't know how to wait. Some people just trying, don't got what it takes. I talk to the guy, you don't make no mistakes. They call me young gunner, I might change the game. They call me young gunner, I might change the game. I been a picture, I might need a frame. I'm tryna free my cuz at the chain gang. I'ma come in and go out with a bang. I'ma come in and go out with a bang. I'ma come in and go out with a bang. Used to be trapping and ducking these raids. Now we count up and get before a stage. Now we count up and get before a stage. I feel like Uzi all over a rage. Trying around town and that been the Musain. I wanna shit on my aces today. I wanna shit on my aces today. Spin up them breasts and then look at they face. This came from Metro, this shit ain't from Zay. You can't let them be sat in the cage. I can see through the spike. Niggas creeping like mice. I'ma speed through the mic. You gotta be more precise. You ain't wrong if you right. Had a wonderful night. Paid a hell of a price. Yeah, I'm a trend killer. Caught new Benz color. Gunna got his own rhythm. Big drip like Godzilla. Glock 40 on my hot spill. Sitting next to the hospital. Tell the crowd make a mosh pit. That water nigga, I'm swimming. I'm the one, yeah, I did. I'm the one that got the car kitty. I been popping like a hot skillet. I been rockin' customized shit. I been geeking metal highs a bitch. I been fucking on the ride seat. You niggas tryna guide, bitch. You should make a nigga cry. Tryna give you more life. I can see through the spike. Niggas creeping like mice. I'ma speed through the mic. You gotta be more precise. You ain't wrong if you right. Had a wonderful night. Paid a hell of a price. Paid a hell of a price. Yeah, I got what grain on my diamond, yeah, buster. Cool $250,000, my go yard duster. I win the game, so you still gotta shuffle. Born with the drip and just learn how to hustle. Look at your bitch through these DR by focus. I get me some head, she been that shit over. They say Lily, I been looking like dollars. Pinstripe hot waters, I dress like a golfer. We riding foreigns, ain't no more impounders. They ain't had no new bum, but I got baby bombs. Shopping at Barney, I drip like a mom. Watch how I drip when I hit that Met Gala. Codeine, I sit with my load, don't get splattered. Doctor told me I got lean in my bladder. Run through this cash like family don't matter. I got your back, feel the same pain together. Pop out the tag, my paw ain't just swap. Baby blue jet, make my mom feel better. Fuck the snow bunny at my show at Coachella. VVS bandit partners in my bezel. We move too fast, it can slime me as ever. Life is too grimy, I watch for the devil. It's a Rolls Royce and it come with umbrellas. 2018 and that Porsche Corolla. Go your pouch. Racks in a quarter ounce. 2 accounts. Large amount. Shop around. Designer down, dribble drown, dribble drown, yeah. Killing these hoes need to call paramedics. New Fendi runners, I feel athletic. Running shit up by my partner, Patty. Blowing this cash, it was time we ain't have it. Got 21 bitches, I must be a savage. Cooking in the kitchen, it don't smell like acid. Pouring this high tech, I'm sipping relaxing. Bobs in LA, gonna fuck in the baddest. Infinite plastic, put him in the casket. I wipe this nose quickly, pass him a nasty. Got an addiction in love with this fashion. Praying for all of my bros like we kept it. Last time I had, cause you always be captain. Niggas ain't eating, start capping you faster. Can't get no sleep, cause my life is all action. See how shit happen, I made it in rapping. Go your pouch. Racks in a quarter ounce. 2 accounts. Large amounts. Shop around. Designer down, dribble drown, dribble drown, yeah.
Run that back, turbo.
Whipping that Mozzie, pay me for the party. I don't wear a hardy, got drip on my body. 10,001 for the strippers and finals. Codeine I sip while I'm smoking exotic. Working like Gotti, my crew almighty. No TGI Friday, eat fast, all we dining. All of my bitches want VVS diamonds. So rest in the club and start changing the climate. All extra on my waist, I'm back rocking her man. Givenchy Air Forces, they cost me a band. I rock a show, get some rest in my man. I eat DK2, brought my bitch to the sand. I dig up my woods and live life on the edge. Slime out of town, so I'm sipping this red. I cannot count these rats getting in my head. Young on the rapping, I really was trapping. My wrist need a napkin, Rolex got me wet. Drip, they gon' jacket, my jacket. Them folks had to test me, shit cost me some bread. You real bitch, stitching, love shopping in France. She want a vacation, my bitch need a tan. Fear got pants, but my fear got banned. You niggas wasn't there when I needed a hand. Whipping that Mozzie, pay me for the party. I don't wear a hardy, got drip on my body. 10,001 for the strippers and finals. Codeine I sip while I'm smoking exotic. Working like Gotti, my crew almighty. No TGI Friday, eat fast, all we dining. All of my bitches want VVS diamonds. So rest in the club and start changing the climate.
I want the money, I don't want no time. My pocket stuff, yeah, I keep it on. My whip is no bunny, I love them blue honey. Brand new Mozzie in the Bentley, I'm money. I got no coast, I jumped up the Porsches, a boss. Drinking high, taking the law. My bitch got an ass, it's soft. Yo, this ain't no gas and cigar. I roll up back with a gelato. I'm rocking Valentino with the red bottle. Bitchy stars got me fucking the model. Poppin' seal, we don't drink bottles. Hustle hard about that almighty dollar. Try to play me, put that K to your collar. Nation in the garden, my Gucci the boss. Polo one bitch on the plug like a charge.
Mozzie pay me for the party. I don't wear a hardy, got drip on my body. 10,001 for the strippers and finals. Codeine I sip while I'm smoking exotic. Working like Gotti, my crew almighty. No TGI Friday, eat fast, all we dining. All of my bitches want VVS diamonds. So rest in the club and start changing the climate.
Yeah, 2 Benzes, 1 Bentley Coupe and 2 Beamers. Think I'm essentials, I stay in the cleaners. 2K my sweatsuit, I walk with demeanor. Sipping on Lincoln, you tell me who leaner. Showing me pics of your hoe, I seen her. 23 rats got me feeling like Tinker. I like your bitch cause her pussy look pinker. Made that hoe come with 2 rings on my fingers. Crocodile seats on my cousins look like it. Been shipping packs in with back, yeah that's a fact. Lately I promise I've been on my bull. You finna get shot acting like you cool. Chip to my socks and at least I'm a fool. Sick on my brother, he stay with the tool. If you won't pop it, boy pass it to Twine. Flipped in your bitch like a pussy a pond. Feel like a swan laying in it down one. Yeah, I've been an artist, but not rap or I con. But these new niggas, I am not too fun. My bitch a fair, she walk with a wand. Jamin's my brother, if I thought he scuffle. That's not a joke, that boy can't wait to tussle. Take not no tussling, these stripper hoes bustin'. Lustin' all over, my garbage keep buzzing.
I got wood grain on my diamond, yeah, bustin'. Cool $250,000, my go yard duffel. I win the game, so you still gotta shuffle. Bone with the drip and just learn how to hustle. Look at your bitch through these DR by folks. I get me some hands, she been that shit over. They say Lil D, I been looking like dollars. Pinstripe hot waters, I dress like a golfer. We riding foreigns, ain't no more impounds. They ain't had no new bone, but I got baby bottles. Shopping that Bonnie, I drip like a model. Watch how I drip when I hit that Met Gala. Codeine, I sit on my luck, don't get splattered. Doctor told me I got lean in my bladder. Run through this cash like family don't matter. I got your back for the same pain together. Pop out the tag, my paw ain't just swallow. Baby blue jet, make my mom feel better. Fuck the snow bunny at my show at Coachella. VVS bandit partners in my belt. We move too fast to get slimy as ever. Life is too grimy, y'all watch for the devil. It's a Rolls Royce and it come with umbrellas. 2018 in that Porsche Carrera. Go your pouch. Racks in a quarter ounce. 2 accounts. Large amounts. Shop around. Designer down. Dribble drown. Dribble drown. Killing these hoes need to call paramedics. New Fendi runners, I feel athletic. Running shit up by my partner up had. Blowing this cash, it was time we ain't had it. Got 21 bitches, I must be a savage. Cooking in the kitchen, it don't smell like acid. Pouring this hot take, I'm sipping relaxing. Bounce in the lake on the fucking the baddest. Dipping in plastic, put him in the casket. I wipe this nose quickly, pass him a napkin. Got an addiction in love with this fashion. Praying for all of my bros like we Catholic. Lifetime I has, cause you always be catching. Niggas ain't eating, start capping, you fasting. Can't get no sleep, cause my life is all action. See how shit happen, I made it in rapping. Go your pouch. Racks in a quarter ounce. 2 accounts. Large amounts. Shop around. Designer down. Dribble drown. Dribble drown. Sprite, gonna control the hype. No guessing, my clothes is tight. I ride like a motorbike. Moonwalking my soul like Mike. I'm fucking your whole tonight. Easy boost on, I might take a hike. Yo, shit trash, I don't see why you pipe. I forget while I roll the dice. I know scammers that know the swipe. Keep a hammer, I know you ain't right. BBS is like frozen eyes. Yeah, I know, but I still take advice. Need a few, all my bros off of rice. Heard them crackers tryna play with your life. Get that dollar and don't drop a dime. That's why they pee in the cases. Fuck it, it feel like we made it. Had a bucket, now it's a Mercedes. It's your gun of the motherfucking latest. Ain't no cash that I came out of shady. But I walk anywhere on this pavement. Work don't work, then I'm back to the basics. I ain't racist, I fuck on all races. But I see you going places. Hopping that Ryan races. That's calamari, I taste it. I'm at the Ari in Vegas. I keep it so real, I can't fake it. I been sipping that lean, got me lazy. I might stroke on it while I have a baby. When I shoot, they all like a Haitian. I dribble on. 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 Yeah. I took that drip to the palace. That drip you couldn't even imagine. This drip ain't gon' make me a legend. I hop in that coupe, got gadgets. I got an FN in this plastic. Now the smart face, I'm getting King Patty. Bitch, these hundreds all over my salad. I got some hoes in magic. No capping, I know I'm having. I don't want your whole lot of habit. I had that bank roll in the attic. In the safe, and I bet you can't hack it. Nothing nice if you touch without asking. You get hit in that bitch photomatic. If you dish, you get shot when you lack it. Used to ride that hard jacket. Now I bum up, I make out some records. I got hundreds bent up in the basket. I been killing the game with no casket. I been broke out a party package. Once the geek up, I think I'm an addict. I been fucking this stick on my daddy. Think you cuffing it, but I been had it. Like the roof with the stars. I'm put it in Paul. I been fucking it hard. She don't want me to stop. I been dripping it all. 20 racks in the mall. We been living it large. Yeah, I drip from the start. I drip alone. I drip alone. Yeah, I drip alone. I drip alone. I drip alone. I drip alone. Trying to give you more life. I can see through the spike. Niggas creeping like mice. I'ma speak through the mic. Got to be more precise. You ain't wrong if you right. Had a wonderful night. Paid a hell of a price. I'm full of dick, you can't delay the flight. None of the bass ride the beat like a bike. Your first your time when you these niggas shooting on sight. I blow through a 20, but that shit was light. When nigga that jet, man, I gotta do right. Why you been missing somewhere to reside. Get everything that I desire. It's not a freestyle, cause this shit in my brain. Prepare for a loss, cause this shit come with pain. Niggas fell off and just start getting paid. Made me a boss, I hold my own way. I'm practicing patience, don't know how to wait. Some people just trying, don't got what it takes. I talk to that guy, he don't make no mistakes. I'm matching the game. I'm matching the game. I paint a picture, I might need a frame. I'm trying to be my cuz at the chain gang. I'ma come in and go out with a bang. I'ma come in and go out with a bang. I'ma come in and go.
Okay, what's up? I think we shouldn't have any problems today with the connection because now I actually fixed the antenna situation. So hopefully I have 5 out of 5, so top-notch reception. Is it in sync now? Let me know. Otherwise there's something else that's wrong. But let me know. It seems to be good on this one. I'll just start answering some questions and get to anybody who, gets their questions into the chat. And if you want me to call, I can do that as well, so let me know. Anyway, hope you guys are having a good week. Monday's best day. I had a question here, which is, which are your favorite apps for filmmaking? And I think my favorite one, number 1, that I use always, and this is actually both for an iPhone and computer, that is Ulysses. It's a writing app. Let me just show you. And let me just get a document that don't give away all the secret information in the world. So let's see. There's a lot of secret informations. There's only secret informations. Okay, this one. It's in Swedish. Nobody will understand anyways. So, Ulysses is an app that you write in. And it's a very simple app. It is... Let me get a little bit closer. Not my face. Oh, Canon. Canon. Damn it. Okay. So, troublesome life. It's this one. That's Ulysses. One in the corner. And yeah, on the phone, it looks like, you have a lot of documents. Like so. But the good thing about this app is that now you can focus again on me. Canon. Why is it so hard? Yeah, now we're tracking. Autofocus, biggest nemesis in life. Okay, so you have, it's kind of hard to see, so check the app out. It's Ulysses with a Y, I guess. And the good thing about it is that you can actually isolate so that you only have, now of course I brought this thing in that I don't want. Trouble today. Okay, here we go. So you can actually kind of center everything, so all you have is your writing stuff, like the text that you're doing, and it's just like text, what's it called? It's not any format that is, taking like Word, a lot of formattation with you. So if you've done like tabs and that sort of stuff, you can screw you up if you want to put that into a different type of programming language or that sort of thing. So Ulysses, top-notch app to write. I write everything in it on the phone and it syncs, via iCloud and all that. That is my go-to app. Number 1, all of them. And then another one that I use always is Todoist, which is just a to-do app. So Todoist, simple. You just have your list. You can't really see, I'm too far away, but check it out. Todoist is a really good app that makes you on point. And then filmmaking apps, Sunseeker, go-to app, always use it. Need to know where is the sun coming from in a situation. Really important app to have. Another app is, of course, the weather app. Very important. I have one. I don't know if this is, for everybody, but in Sweden, this one, Climendo, works really good. Because, and you can probably find a different one. Maybe I can put one in the description afterwards. But we use one that is, for instance, several sources. So this have like 5 or so sources, and then it makes like a forecast of all of them combined together. That's also crucial when you're out shooting. Like having a good weather app that you can rely on. You can never rely on weather, but as much as you can, it's a good thing. Let me see, what else? An editing app that I used a lot before. Now I mainly use Lightroom, so that could be an app. I don't know. I don't like editing on my phone anymore. But if I would like that, and if I would like to edit images on my phone, I would use Enlight, which is fantastic for what it is. Editing really like intuitive on your phone, and that I've used tons. But since I started, I stopped taking photos with my iPhone. Since I did that and only used a mirrorless camera, then it didn't make sense to get it in the phone and edit it. But if I have to, I use that app. And then another one for all your outdoor adventures, Topo GPS, really good app that will make you not lose track. If you're out in the wilderness or climbing a mountain, you can find the paths and all that stuff. It's not like Google Maps is doing a very good job of navigating your life. So those are my favorite ones. Another navigating app I use is Galileo. That's also a really good app. I guess that's the go-to apps. What else? VPN service, ExpressVPN. Good stuff. I guess that's it for now. If you want to know more about apps, let me know. Everybody loves their apps. So let's see. I had one good question here. I'm just going to jump to it and then go back. Where is it? So this one. I love this question. Andrew Parsons. Will you touch on why Canadians make a quarter or half of the documentaries produced in the world despite being a tiny, insignificant country? Yeah. So one huge reason for that is because Canada has always been one of the #1 places to make documentaries. The first recognized documentary, Nanook of the North, was made there. So there's this rich tradition in Canada from making docs. And you have North America's biggest documentary film festival in Hot Docs. You have a big passion for it. You actually have people going to the cinema. People probably watch as much on TV, but in Canada there's a lot of people that goes to watch documentaries in the cinema. And they have an appreciation for it. And I think that probably has led to Canada having a really strong system to support docs. So they have a lot of money that goes to producing docs. It's becoming less and less, and that's the times we live in, where you don't get that much governmental funding for docs and that sort of thing anymore. So that's kind of been, a really, really strong reason for there being so many high-level produced that has money to also distribute. And then, much like Scandinavian countries, Canada also has all that money and they co-produce. So Scandinavians have a lot of money put together, but they don't have a lot of money if you go individually. Like Sweden doesn't have a lot of money, but Sweden often co-produces with Finland and Denmark and maybe Canada. And then they have a lot of money. So that kind of makes that whole system of making docs really efficient. But then you have to put, for instance, an editor on the job. Has to be from one country because you need the A roles in a production coming from a country. So when you co-produce, what you do is you get money from Canada, Sweden, and Denmark maybe. And then you place certain roles, which are the A roles, in those countries that you get the funding from. So you might get money for an editor in Denmark, money for production in Sweden, and then you get the post-production outside of editing, like grading and sound mixing and all that in Canada. So that's why I think that system works still today, even though it's getting, less, but you still have that co-production type of organization. And because Sweden has money, if you want to co-produce, then people tend to work together with Sweden, and it's the same with Canada. People like to work where there's money. And then you have tax incentives and all that as well, I think. I'm not so read up on the tax incentives, but yeah, that's pretty much what I know about Canada and why they are succeeding. And probably the festivals as well. When you have strong festivals like Toronto TIFF and Hot Docs, when you have those prominent festivals, that's gonna bring not only people into the cinemas and interest up, it's also gonna generate a lot of media attention, and the buyers come there. There's a big hub on both festivals to buy films. So you get a lot of the world's leading people coming there to Toronto just for those festivals. And then you have, for TIFF for instance, they built the state-of-the-art screens in Toronto, so you have those screens where everybody wants to premiere their films, much like Cannes or Sundance. I don't know how Sundance is though, because they moved around a lot. I know at least that Cannes and TIFF has, top-notch cinemas. Sundance must have some of them as well. But IDFA as well, they built a whole new cinema in Amsterdam, which is huge. We screened there once, I think, with the Pearl of Africa. It's 800 or 900 seats or something. Massive, and a big glass house. Okay. Hollywood North, they call it. Yeah, it's a good name. So what are people saying about it then? Yeah, we've been called that a time or two. Yeah, but you probably are. I don't know how the TV series scenes are, the whole production and everything, but I know that for a long time Toronto was known as the city that's used in the most films but never recognized as being Toronto, because there were so many productions being shot there, not being docs, but in general, TV series, films and all that. So a lot of people went to Toronto because of the tax incentives and probably support from producing locally and all that, because you use local crews and that to get the both tax incentives, and then if you get support, for instance, from the Canadian Film Board, I guess it's called. Yeah, that's pretty much all I know. Question here then. We Canadian love our dogs. Yeah, you do. Are you ever truly satisfied with your own work? Sometimes, but usually when you screen it to other people, you're over it. So you're satisfied while you're making it, and you're really happy with what you've made. And then I think, as with anything, you lose connection with it. You have that baby and you have it on its way. Once it's out there on festival markets and all that, then I'm pretty done with my projects when they're getting released. And then you have to force yourself to be interested, to do the Q&As and all those things, which is kind of interesting, because this time, for instance, talking about the process while making stuff is more interesting to me than sitting in a Q&A talking about it afterwards, because there's more passion in creating stuff when it's something that's you're in right now, and not something that's you set on the shelf and left to die or something, get dusty at least. Yeah, so another question. Why cinematographer, not photographer? Love the videos, keep it up, man. I don't know what that... I've been both. I don't know if that was a question to me, if it was something else. I was both, though. at one point I was a photographer and I lost interest in photography. Thought it was too rigid and too predictable. Any suggestions for sound equipment, reflectors and tripods for docs narrative projects? That was the first question, so let's just answer one at a time. It's several in one. Lana Lauren asked this. Reflector, I don't know. I know that there are these that I want myself. There's these umbrella types. Maybe somebody can comment about these. There's this umbrella that you can, I think it's squared, and then there's one that you don't have to have somebody holding. So you actually can unfold the umbrella and it's a squared umbrella. So it becomes like a flat surface, and then you can put it on the ground, and then you can of course angle it so that you can reflect something without you holding it. And then you can be a one-man crew. Those I can recommend, but I haven't used them, but I think they seem like something that I would need. And I don't know if somebody knows what that is, but then maybe somebody can clear that up for you. Otherwise, I just use the standard, like cheap 7-in-1 or 5-in-1 small, like so, in size. I guess there's Lasolite and all these ones. We have got ours from Kaffebrus, which is a Swedish store that you can buy from, but I mean, anybody makes decent ones. It's just a matter of like how big do you need and how many different variations do you need. I usually just use white, silver and gold and black to flag things, but that's it. On another note, have you ever worked with VR yet? We actually were really on to that for a while. We tried signing with like commercial representation about that, but then that kind of didn't happen, because for a while there was a lot of it that you saw at documentary film festivals was focused around VRs. We felt like we had something to kind of add to that, because we felt like a lot of it was shit. But then eventually we just lost interest in it, and now it feels like the rest of the world did as well. So not yet something that we're gonna explore. Besides sports and games, you see, like TV hasn't figured out how to utilize it, and that's probably, it has to do with that. For us, it didn't make sense because, I mean, technically, I don't think it holds up to the standard that we see as cinematic, so that was an issue, and we wanted to do that with Blackmagic cameras. There are rigs that you can buy, but they're pretty expensive. So you probably have to pay like 10 or 20k to get a rig that is cinematic. And then there's whole, post-production workflow. But we also had discussions with Riot News in the US to do something. And I mean, they do it. That's why Huffington Post bought them, because they are a VR production company. So yeah, we have thought about it, but not there yet. And for me, I think that, it doesn't seem like the audience is catching up to it. It seems like there's a disconnect in the whole tech demand that is needed, because it seems like there's so few that are talking about it, having it at home, and that means that it's far, far away from like breaking through. But at festivals and all that, you can explore it at each festival, I feel. So it is there. If you want to stay ahead of the pack and want to be first to market, then it makes sense to do it. For us, we pretty much feel like we are so into this YouTube way of trying to produce stuff, and it feels like the whole world, in being the world is the film industry, they are so behind in terms of finding like new models, new ways of engaging with audiences and trying to build, a whole thing around your work and your films, that it feels like there's so much that's, still undone there. You can see YouTubers are doing stuff, but the industry is not caught up to that. So we feel like we can still be in that segment. Rice asks, hi Rice, how do you choose when you get out your camera and shoot, or just enjoy the moment and take it as a memory? the funny thing is that I live through documenting my memories. So it's kind of weird because I realize that people might see it like intrusive and strange and that you can't stop working. But to me, I find that more joyful than not taking pictures. I want to have my camera most of the time and I want to document things. So having a YouTube channel which is about that totally makes sense for me. And I get that not everybody is, wanting to do that, and they want to have a disconnect between like their work and their spare time. Mine blends so much, so I don't really care about it. But then I would never, run around and work for a client for fun in the spare time. So I separate that. But then as like a passion for filmmaking, taking pictures and all that, I use that, more and more since I got kids soon. That kind of makes sense for me now because you want to document them. And then when you travel a lot, you always document things. So, for me, it's natural. I just document everything. And then it's up to you, since you're the one publishing anything, to kind of decide what goes out or what just lays there for years or forever. That's at least, how I see it. And I see, when I look back at material, when I see, like I shot a lot from my kid's first birth. And when you look back on that material, even though it can feel weird when you shoot it, anybody that's been through that situation appreciates watching that material afterwards. Or, for instance, my pet's dogs, that has passed away, and then you go back and you look at that material. Then you appreciate it. And while you do it, maybe you don't appreciate it because, why do you have to have the camera here now? But that's the case with everything. Like if you shoot a documentary and have a subject that's uncomfortable, but you feel like this is crucial to tell the story, a lot of the time you're right. And the person that gets angry because you're filming is wrong. Most of the time. If you have some ethics and feelings, empathy and all that. If you have that and can decide like what's inappropriate and what's just you having a camera. Because if it's just you having a camera, then I don't see it as an issue. As long as, people aren't offended or think that, it's wrong to have their face on Facebook or YouTube or whatever that stupid ID of their own personal life is. I don't agree with that, but I respect if somebody doesn't want me to take their picture or something. Yeah, so that's basically that. Let's see. Where do you find music? We have basically two favorite sites. I've used for, I don't know, probably like since it came out, I've used Epidemic Sound. Epidemic Sound is something that the Swedish public broadcaster, which I've made a lot of TV for, like TV series for a TV channel here in Sweden. I've made a lot using Epidemic Sound for them because that's the library that they started using. So before they had some type of licensing with Stim, which is a Swedish licensing company or organization, and then you can pick anything you'd like. And then they kind of changed, and then that evolved into like them licensing with only Epidemic Sound for their series. Otherwise they have to pay extra and that sort of thing. So then they got cheap and they started using that, and I was forced to start to look at that library. And since then I've used it. In the beginning it was not as good as it is now. Now there's so much more like variations and stuff. So it's really evolved. It's a Swedish company as well, so that feels good to kind of use it. Or is it a Danish? Maybe a Danish. Same but different country. But they will get offended. Good on you, the Danes. Anyways, we have a little bit of rivalry going on there. But Epidemic Sound is really good if you want to have different types of music. And you can get stems and all that, which is really nice if you want to create moods or atmospheres, and you can break out, for instance, the drums and that sort of thing, which you usually want to build your own type of tempo. So then it's super amazing. And then another one that we also use is Artlist, which I've talked about before on the channel and everything. But Artlist is a totally different type of music site, and they mainly work with like albums from independent artists, and then they release that. So if you want proper tracks, for instance, you want a song that is like, it is reggae or it's whatever, they have instrumentals, but you can only get them as the track and how it's recorded, so you can't go in and get stems and that sort of thing. And I really like that approach, where you can just like have a whole type of album be a theme, for instance. So one artist released an album, you might use all of that. I would wish they would have the stems as well, because that will make it much easier for you to kind of build stuff up on your own if you can separate it. So that's why I come back to Epidemic Sound and use that the most, because it's just more simple to fit it in with what I do. Yeah, that's my two go-to sites. Not working on, yeah, probably because you're driving. I'm guessing that it's not working because of that, but not 100% sure. How is Canada tiny? Okay, these are answered within the chat. Why did you want to be a cinematographer, not a photographer? Oh, okay. Maybe that was the question before. I think, I mean, I moved on from being a cinematographer even by now. So now I'm mainly a director, I guess, that shoots the stuff he directs. But I don't do DP work for others anymore. I think that it might happen sometime, but it's very, very rare. I don't even think it happens once a year. So I used to do that. That used to be like the career choice. And that's how I kind of sustained myself, just doing that because it was easy to get freelance work. Before that, I was a photographer, and I worked both like in press photography for a while, but then I moved into advertising, and I never really felt like I had a break. I tried to get representation as a still photographer, and I mean, I had advertising gigs with big brands and all that, but I didn't feel like I got the style that I wanted, or I didn't get to do the stuff that had, you know, a personal style. And that's probably why I stopped also doing advertising in film for a while. So I did that transition to doing, like, first I did both in advertising, and then I went on to just do cinematography. And then I lost interest in advertising. And then I kind of went into TV, and I did that, and I think I found my style by doing TV and then doing documentaries. And then when I had that whole concept of how I wanted to work, then I went back to advertising, and then I started in like doing DP work, but then I went on to direct things, and that comes back to me making documentaries, and like the whole industry felt like it was it had grown, so now it's common that they do the more branded content stuff, because they won't contact me to do, you know, a big commercial that isn't. Maybe if it has authenticity and it has some form of documentary style, they would contact me. But otherwise, they would contact somebody else, and that totally makes sense because that's my style. And agencies in general are so picky with, like, if you get into one genre, you're gonna have a really difficult time getting out of it. So I'm gonna be stuck in the documentary fold until further notice. But then now I like taking pictures. We do it, you know, a lot on our trips and that sort of thing. So I think it's starting to come back a little bit. So photography for me has been like more of a private type of thing that I love, but I don't want to work for somebody taking pictures. I think that kind of takes away the whole, you know, fun in it. And it didn't in the same way do that for me in film. So I love, taking pictures, but it's not that I love working with clients taking pictures. That's what I kind of lost interest in. So Dale, how do you forecast what will be popular in 2 years while you go through the process of making your docs? Like you said with Pearl, you struggled because the whole trans thing had been done. Yeah, the thing that happened with the Pearl of Africa was that we released a web series in 2014, and it was perfectly timed. It couldn't have been better. I think it even was before Caitlyn Jenner. So it was like this time that I had analyzed the whole situation at that time. Like, okay, so there was a lot of films coming out about the gay issue in Uganda. And then I had just seen, like, okay, so there was a lot of film coming out. Some of them got Oscar nominated. I just felt like, okay, I need another angle because this is still relevant, but this angle won't work long term. People have kind of lost, interest in that. There's no newsworthy angle in it. So what we kind of thought about was like, okay, what's the new angle? Because I started making a film about a gay couple who fled from Uganda to Sweden and got married here, and like this very big sob story. But one of them didn't want to make it, so that made it a little bit easier to find a different topic. So I went to Uganda and I found this topic just because I felt like there was like a different angle in talking about the gay rights issue through a trans angle would be easier for Ugandans to relate to. And that's just what I felt knowing how Ugandans think about it. And I think they're more likely to accept talking about LGBTQ if they kind of feel like, if you see that, oh, this is a woman, then they accept that it's a woman. If they don't see it, if it's a masculine female, then they don't accept it, and it's unnatural. So that was what I analyzed and saw, and that's why I pivoted towards that. And then during that process of making it, things changed. So the web series came out, and then that came out during the time that the bill that was in Uganda to make homosexuality illegal, that was being talked about in the media, and at the same time we released the web series, so it had perfect timing. The problem that happened afterwards, when we had like CNN calling it the top African show to ditch House of Cards for, we had already met with Netflix and they wanted a rough cut of the feature film, and then we didn't have any funding, and then it took 2 years to put the project together. So that's basically how we got screwed up in terms of timing. So if we would have had our time plan, we would have had perfect timing. We would have come out maybe 2 or 3 months after Caitlyn Jenner came out, and I mean that timing would just have exploded, I think, and I think that's something that you need to try to time, but it's very difficult to, if you look at all the parameters of making a film, make that work. And in hindsight, maybe we should have just kept filming and invested ourselves in order for that to like be happening, but it didn't. And we premiered the film at Hot Docs, and we felt like even though they committed to kind of push the film as their #1 film to the media and everything, we didn't felt like that had a really big impact for the film. So eventually we just like went home, reassessed everything, and just like, okay, we need to set up a plan, because in Toronto we had a PR agent that was supposed to get a lot of attention, and then we felt like, but we've done the same. Without a film festival and without connections, why would we have a PR agent? And then we went back and we had the European premiere in IDFA, Amsterdam. And then we kind of used what we had learned from doing the PR with the web series. And we went in and just did everything ourselves. Especially Andre did everything himself with some external help, I think, with assistance and all, but then I was more focused on the whole storytelling aspect, giving him material to do the PR work, and then he did all the PR, and then that led to the Netflix sale and all that, and there was a lot of strategy behind that, getting them to come with a bid, But I think there's so many variables in terms of like, so you can do all the research, like we did extensive research about the topic, knowing like, okay, the ins and out of, for instance, trans issue, okay, that's going to be something that's going to blow up, we felt, and betted on. Gay rights issue, not going to be as interesting because there's so many films about it already. There's so much talked about it already in the media. And then, I mean, the bill, we felt like it wasn't over. The gay rights issue was still very, much going on. And then we also found, the first trans woman in Uganda that was willing to kind of speak out about it and document her life. So you have to kind of tap into that whole aspect of any type of topic. You have to research it extensively to try to find like the ins and outs, read what's been written, see what other people have made about it, what films has been made, how can you find a different angle, because if you do something that's the same as somebody else that was before you, you won't get into the big festivals. That's just not going to happen. That never happens. It's just impossible if it's been done already. We also timed the feature film like by 1 year wrong in terms of, for instance, getting into Sundance. Because that was our main goal. And the year before they had trans focus. And then the year we came out, which was basically a year after, they have shifted the focus again. So those things matter a lot to have, some kind of research and insight into what's going on in the world. That helps to kind of dictate where you're going to go. But it all depends on what type of topic you have. So that was a long answer to a pretty long question. Favorite feature film of 2007? Funnily enough, I don't think I even can come up with one. I never see films anymore. This is probably the worst thing to say as a filmmaker, but I totally lost interest in the narratives that feature films have. I only watch series nowadays. Documentaries, I should be able to come up with some. 2017. It's funny when you do the festival circuit 2016 and you see a lot of films, then you kind of get a year where you don't see films. Now I want to see films again. I actually cannot come up with one. Other films that have inspired me, maybe I can talk about those instead. I think a huge thing for me, at least, was to see like Alma Harel, which is she was in competition with us in Toronto with her new film. She made a film called Bombay Beach. That was a really amazing film, I think. What else? That was long ago, like 2007 or something. Or 2011, maybe. Maybe it was the same time as I made Zero Silence. What else? I can't come up with any films. I don't know. Let me think. I might come up with some. Should I buy a 7D for 4,000 euros? That depends on what you want to do. If that's what you can afford. I mean, Canon is reliable. 7D, I think you can use Magic Lantern on. You should know that it's probably, not the best low light camera, even though they kind of was that at that time or something. Is the 7D? No, I don't think it's that. I think there's a bit too much focus on like the bigger sensor cameras. I feel like if you're investing 4,000, then you gotta pretty much take what you get type of situation, because it's not a lot of camera you get for that money, and I think probably used cameras is a better way to go for that. But I had luck and I bought like one of my Blackmagic Pocket cinema cameras for I think 500 euros, so you can strike a deal and get those types of cameras sometimes. Now I think it's like 1k or something. But if you feel like that's a camera that you wanna use, then go for it. But if you can afford a better camera, then I would go for a newer camera, because they have better low light situations, less noise. If you can expose at like 400 ISO and light things, then you're fine. That's totally fine with most cameras. But if you can't light, then you should probably save for a more light sensitive one. Is there any reason to spend money on film and shoot something in analog? I mean, as a look, I don't think it makes sense to do it for whole film, especially if you're not like Christopher Nolan or somebody like that. But I mean, if you're shooting it for a look, or if you're shooting it as a concept, for instance, for a certain part of a story, for instance, like it's a bit obvious if you do it as like, oh, these are the backflashes type of thing. That sure you can do that, but I mean that's been done so many times that I think it doesn't really add as like a creative. It isn't really a creative solution to anything because it's been done so many times. So if you want to use it creatively as a storytelling element, but probably more of like use it as an emotional thing that maybe used for a certain part of a story. Maybe you shoot everything that is a couple that is together. Maybe you shoot all that on film to give a different character to it. Maybe that's a way to do it. But I think that if you do it for everything, I don't really think it's worthwhile. But if you do it for a reason like that, I think it makes sense. I know a friend of mine, Maceo, who does a lot of commercials. He usually I think he has a Super 8 camera with him on all his advertising shoots. He likes that approach of just shooting stuff from time to time with that camera, and I get that. It's a nice thing to break off with. I probably use the same type of aspect when I use like archive material, or sometimes I just grade it in a grainy way. But I mean, for somebody who doesn't grade that much, maybe it makes more sense to do it. But it does make sense from a learning perspective, because shooting analog for me has been like this huge advantage in terms of being forced to think about things in a different way, planning things in a different way. All those things I think it's definitely worthwhile for. But I don't think just for like the sake of shooting it. Epidemic Sound is Swedish. Okay, good for Sweden. Or not, it's also bad for composers, but it's good for you as a creator. Hey Jonny, do you previously have any day jobs not related to the creative industry? I had before I studied film. Then I had like, I don't know what it's called, but like cleaning heavy shit in industrial places. I don't know, you work with a broom and it's like disgusting stuff, but it paid the bills. And I also did like office work, editing CAD, I think it's called CAD, right? CAD drawings. That was one of the best summers in my life, because I calculated that I had to work to do the stuff that they expected of me. I was like, I don't know how old I was. I was probably like 17 or something. But I calculated how much time it would take me to do everything that they expected of me. And then I did a little bit more than that. But when I counted that was just like an hour a day that I needed to work. So I just worked that hour a day, and then I went to the gym and I went for long lunches and I just chilled. That was a really good job. That was one other. Then I think I got fired from like a TV game store because of how I dressed. So then I got fired for that. What else? I did telemarketing when I almost went bankrupt because I made a film, like a short film, that made it into Cannes, but then we didn't make any money after that, so yeah. I think that's about it. Then it's been film and that sort of thing, but it's just been short work. Oh, yeah, I also, another time that no, that was the same time that I almost went bankrupt. I also did some work for a friend of mine who had a construction firm that, put anything like paint, lay roof, all those things. That's what I've done. Handyman, sort of. What still camera makes comparable shots to the Blackmagic Pocket? Dreaming about something with long exposure for sky and time lapse. I mean, the Blackmagic Pocket is really low res compared to most cameras. I think any camera, for instance, I used it before we got the GH5, the GX7, or is it 6? Let me just check. Okay, GX7, Panasonic. And those cameras, like if you can get one of those, then they are really good still cameras. I think I bought mine for like 300 or something when they were going out of stock because there was a new camera coming. I think they're at like GX9 by now. But that, I mean, that camera is good enough for that. I don't know, it's kind of hard to get a similar look as the Blackmagic Pocket cinema camera because it has this maybe Super 16 look to it, and it's because it's 1080p. It's very it's not so sharp, but it has the dynamic range, so it's a nice camera in that sense. Alright, Pete asks, morning Johnny, when you say you take your film to festivals, how are you actually getting it there? On a laptop, iPad? Do you mean sending it to them, sending it to the programmers, or actually going there? Because sometimes you send a DCP when you are able to. You want to have a DCP because it's more reliable when you project it. The bigger festivals will only screen DCP. You can make one yourself, I did, but it's a little bit shady. You have to test it and play around with it because it's pretty unreliable. And when you watch that DCP, you can't see it in a computer, so you need to go to cinema to kind of project it. But there is some apps, I think, that can kind of show you that it works, but you don't really know. But DCP you put on a hard drive most of the time, and then you send the hard drive to them. So you usually, for a film like ours, you probably need like 5 or 6 hard drives that is, going across the world. They usually pay for the postage, but you have to get the hard drives and hope that they don't break or lose them. And then download, that's for the smaller festivals. They would download like from Vimeo or something like that, but you usually want to avoid that because of the quality issues. Yeah, that's usually what it is. When we send to festivals to review, it's usually a Vimeo link or something, or their application system has a link or an upload function that you use. Never DVDs anymore. That was the time. I think you normally submit into the festival weeks before and they screen. Okay, that's what I answered pretty much. Just got the new Mavic Air today. It actually sucks. 500 meters away, you get a stuttering video sing bar. Very bad. Why is that? And in the control, or what? Now, I don't know if I should go back to Mavic Pro Platinum. Good to see you. Yeah. That sucks. I had some hopes in that one, but I never trust. For instance, this is funny. I'm going to call Casey out. I never trust his advice in terms of like what drone you should buy or anything like that, because he doesn't really care about anything but size. But I love the man, but I think that his drone recommendations is not always on point, and you can see that from how he crashes them too as well. Yeah, he doesn't really care about that so much. Quality isn't in his mind. But either way, I think the people that are recommending the Mavic Air, that are doing it, they're part of a promotional campaign. So I think you should be a bit cautious about that, knowing that there are so many that are putting it out there. And, you know, I would too if you would send it to me, DJI, but you didn't. So now I'm sitting here and I'm saying something else. I think that whole thing of like having that campaign, it becomes like everybody gets that at the same time. It becomes obvious that like all they say will be biased, and I would kind of be I would really be cautious about buying anything before I really know that they work in those type of release stages. Because the Mavic, I even think that one, the Pro, I think that one sucks in terms of what you get out of the camera, but the invention itself, it's amazing. I just dislike that it's so over sharpened, and somehow the algorithm in it, if you lower the noise reduction, then it looks like crap because it gets everything in ISO something 800, 1600, I don't know, it's really weird how that one works. And I would guess that the Air is pretty similar to that one. So that's unfortunate, but yeah, quality is not always what is marketed. What's your favorite drone these days? For YouTube, not for commercial. For YouTube, it's probably the Mavic Pro, but that's just because it's, you know, something that you can have with you. But I think we have the Inspire 1 with the X5R. I think that one is really good, but it is getting outdated. So I would like the Inspire 1 just because of that. I think the Inspire 1 has like the stuff that I really like about the X5R, the Inspire 1 has, but it's on another level because you can shoot in ProRes and you can shoot without it sounding like, you know, I don't know, fan that's like so big. Problem with the X5R is that the fans in it to record the raw files, it's so loud and it's like a hissing sound, so you can never record audio with it. I used to love recording with it, but I have to always, you know, record stuff silent. So then now I switched on the Osmo I'm talking about now. So now I switched to using the GH5 instead. So I think that like they have some stuff that is really good, but also some issues. But the new one, Inspire 2, I would go for. But that is for commercial and YouTube in my eyes. Dale asks, any thoughts on the Fujifilm's new XH1? I think it seems really good, but I haven't. Let me just check does anybody know what the compression specs are? Because outside of that, I think that it looks amazing, but the compression is always the stuff that they hide away somewhere in the back. I think it was like 100 megabytes or something, Fuji XH1. And I mean 100, that's standard. That's something that it's okay, but it's not something that I would, you know, I wouldn't think that it breaks anything if you compare it to 400 megabytes per second in the GH5, for instance. Let's see. Let's go 100 megabytes. Let's see if it comes up. I think I read that somewhere. I don't get why they hide this away so far. Yeah, here we have it. No. Bit rate. Let's go. 200. 200 in 4K, that's not good. That's my honest opinion on it. 200 in 4K really sucks. But it's in the perfect scenarios where you can expose correctly and everything, it's probably a fantastic camera. But the problems will come if you want to grade it and if you want to push it somewhere. Then you will introduce more noise and that sort of thing. So that's the only thing I would be cautious about. But it sounds like it's on par with the Sony cameras, for instance. Yeah, that's pretty much what I felt. But 200, that's probably what the Sony cameras have as well. But it's strange that they went the 420 way, because that, like 10-bit, it's a huge difference in 10-bit and 8-bit. You can't even compare the two. It's such a huge difference. And if you're gonna spend the same money, that's strange. Because I would go easily with the GH5S over this one. But of course the image stabilizer, if you want that, then GH5 makes more sense. Yeah, that's at least how I feel. But it depends totally on what you're after. I want to have like a combination of the GH5 and GH5S so I can pick. Because most of the time when I shoot stuff alone, it's going to be like handheld sometimes, and then the GH5 makes sense. But a lot of the time I shoot on a tripod also on myself. Or other times I shoot on a gimbal, and then the GH5S makes more sense. So for me, like, I could easily replace the C300 with those two together instead. But not for professional work. So then I had to rent for commercial work just for it to look professional, and so I can charge the proper money. But otherwise, yeah, I would probably change. If it was only up to me and I would need something that's intimidating to clients, then I would probably just go with the GH5s. But that's me, I like small cameras. What first camera... I'm not sure if I understand this, if it's me or... What first camera that you shoot for documentary? Generally, the one you have. For me, Canon 5D Mark II was the one that I started shooting docs on. Before that, I shot on HDV. I used the Panasonic first I used the DVX 100. Amazing camera. Anybody that was filming in those days, that was like a revolution. 28 days later, amazing film shot on that. There we got one film at least, or two together. When you're just starting out, how do you get recognized as a filmmaker? It's kind of hard, because as soon as you have recognition, you have to do the same thing as before you get the recognition. You have to make your own passion projects, and you have to make them so that people notice them. So for instance, we've made these mood films, for instance, on our channel, and we've made them intentionally. It's not that, okay, so they can inspire you guys, but that's just one aspect of it. And we hope that they do inspire you guys. But we also wanted to make them in order to have them to talk to brands. So what we've done now is use, for instance, the Dreams and the... What was the other one? Dreams and... blank. Alive films that we did, 2 shorts. You can check them out and see what I'm talking about. So we used those 2 films to contact outdoor brands in order for us to work with them. And we get a lot of people wanting to collaborate with us because we send them those films as references. Like, we could do something like this for you. Are you interested? Kind of thing. Some of them we've already had, like, done commercials for earlier, and we contacted them. But other people would just randomly just cold email and gotten to their marketing execs, and they're interested, you know. So that is one way of doing it. But you need to create that work that has, you know, potential of being exactly what they want to buy. So you basically need to make stuff that is what you want them to buy. So don't make stuff that is like a fake ad that is what you think they want, that is salesy. Instead, focus on making a passion project that is in line with how you feel they value things and what they want to stand for. So for the outdoor brands, that's probably epic stuff and like emotional and inspirational and all those things. So for us, that made sense to make those videos and use them for that. We're going to continue doing that, and we're going to do it on different topics and all that. But for us, that is not only a way to inspire you guys, but also do that for, you know, getting new line of work and that sort of thing. And the web series that we do is the same. I don't think the Confused African is necessarily that, because we did so long before, so we didn't intentionally know that that was how it was going to be used. But we noticed that each project that we put out, if we put out a feature film, each project that we do put out gets all the attention that we need to stay relevant within the industry. So people don't look at like, oh, he did that commercial and he did that commercial. Once you get to a level where they notice you, all the commercials are the same pretty much. If you don't win a lot of prizes and that sort of thing, then it's something different. But then it's the prizes as well that matter. But what happens when you kind of do new commercials is that it's just a new commercial. But the passion project is what makes you kind of step up in level. So all of the bigger agencies and the bigger production companies and all that, internationally, us as well, we all focus on creating stuff that is inspiring, or we hope that it can inspire creatives on, you know, the other side that's going to buy into what we do. We hope that it inspires them to want to contact us for something, that it sparks an idea in their mind, so that, oh, these guys are so cool, we want to work with them, let's get them on this job. That's essentially what we're after. And that's what all people do. Like if you look at what Solomon Lighthelm does, it's the exactly same model that we use. And all of them do the same. That's why like Alma Harrell does docs just as much as she likes making docs. Everybody does that. It's a model that works, and doing documentaries long form, that's why it has a bigger value to me than doing short form. Because short form, if you do that, you don't get as much attention. So you can get as much attention by getting like Vimeo staff picked and all that. But if you don't get that, then it's a whole different type of situation. So we like working with like web series and that sort of thing, and short films that can be like mood films, to do the same, to kind of inspire people to want to work with us. I think that's a much better way than trying to like email them or whatever. Having a thought of inspiration is much more interesting, I think, in terms of like manipulating them to wanting to work with you. That's basically our concept for how we work, and now you know that, and now people will know it if they watch this. Okay, so last question. Why so many people talk about gear and stuff, only few of content and creativity? What do you think about that? Are we slave to gear? Yeah, I think most people are slave to gear. I guess everybody is guilty of that. I have like a love-hate relationship for it, though. I love the gear. For instance, what you do not see, maybe I can show you, is like this whole setup here, which is pretty funny because you just see this side. Let me just take a picture about gear. Like you usually want to have gear if you know that's what you're after, but this is basically the setup. Focus. So, even though I hate gear, I have a lot of gear. There we go, Canon. So the thing is, this whole setup here, it's dependent on gear, right? These blankets that you see, they kind of compress the audio. So this is the first time I actually had a thought of like, okay, so I need to fix this audio, because I was listening back to the to the Q&As, and I was just hearing like it sounds too hollow, I need to fix this. So then I've been recording a lot for some courses that we're making, and then I have just like set up everything so that it doesn't sound the same. Like I want to compress the audio. So then now I just like, I'll put these molten fabrics up, and then I put these sound blankets up that I usually use for like production and all that, but I don't have like the energy or time to do it for this. But now it just makes sense to find a solution that works. And like all this, it does matter. Like it does compress the sound and everything, but all the other Q&As have been there and they've worked without it. And I mean the lights, I use them because I have them. There's a lot of lights that are set up. I mean, there's just like, I don't know if this one, no, doesn't work. But there's like, okay, one key light there. There is one from the side there. There's one backlight up there. There's one up there getting some cyan down there that's supposed to imitate that light there. That's one light in the back. There's one light over there. All that is intentional, and everything has to do with creating this cinematic world. But I do that because I'm always in this space, so I can set up these, and I just have to turn them on. I don't have to set this up, except for all this with the blankets and all. But I think that made sense now that I started to listening back on everything, and I hear like it sounds too much of like an industry place than a compressed room, and that's what you want it to feel like, at least me. So even though the gear, it doesn't matter at all, and I could just as well do this as a podcast or anything, and you could probably get the same information and all that and connection with an audience. I still think it matters for me because I'm trying to sell something. Like I'm selling the image of this. This is basically like, even though it's a Q&A, you're still supposed to feel some type of consistency with the rest of the stuff that we do, because we're trying to build a brand around that is, cinematic, and it is what we're trying to kind of emphasize in everything that we do. And the professionality and all that, that's something that is in the background of everything. And in one way, as I said earlier about cameras, I don't think it matters that I have a C300 Mark II. I don't need that camera. I just need it to be imitating at, productions that have an advertising component with a client and all that. And because it's expected that you shoot on better cameras. I don't need it for anything else, because I could just as well work with like a GH5. And the GH5 isn't like a free camera, but it is a very cheap camera. If you look at what level that I'm working at, it's something that people just have. Anybody in a production, any stage could have that camera. So I don't think it matters at all. I've made films like Zero Silence, for instance. I've projected it in cinemas, and it still looks really good, and it was shot on the 5D with the regular H.264 codec. And that was shot on just one lavalier mic from Sennheiser, jacked into the camera. So in a way, it doesn't matter at all. But as you progress, you have a level that you want to keep. And I get jobs off of having that level consistent. And that's why it matters. But it doesn't really matter. Not for telling a story. Then it doesn't matter at all. Okay, that is it for this week. Luckily, it seems like the streaming worked this time, so maybe I will have to raise the quality a little bit just to push it and see where it cranks out. So thanks for tuning in. See you this week, but for this next week. Bye.